The first scream cut through the valley like a bird's sharp cry. It was quick and loud, then gone with the cold wind that blew down from the snowy peaks. Trees shook, small rocks fell. A storm was coming, not rain, but angry men on horses. People called him the ghost of the high hills. Mothers used his name to make children behave. Storytellers spoke it quietly around the fire. Long ago, he had been a happy husband and father who lived in a little cabin full of laughter. Now he lived alone, and only silence followed him. His boots made a rough sound on the rocky path as he climbed higher. He carried an old rifle that had killed many deer and a few men. His hands were full of old scars. He had not spoken to anyone in many months. The mountain was his only friend, cold, hard, and forever. Down in the valley, a house was burning. He could smell the smoke even from far away. Wood cracked and popped. Dark smoke rose into the evening sky. Men on horses rode in circles around the fire, shouting. The flames made their faces look red and black. Children were crying, cries that hurt the ears more than knives. He stopped when he saw a man hanging from a big tree. The body moved slowly in the smoke. It was not a stranger. It was a neighbor who had once shared bread with him. Now the dead man's boots kicked at nothing. The message was simple: obey or die. The ghost felt his chest grow tight. He remembered his own fire years ago. He remembered digging a grave with his hands. He remembered his wife's dark hair wet with blood and his little child who stopped breathing. Have you ever lost everything and still kept living? That was his real crime, staying alive. He started walking down the mountain. The wind pushed hard against him. His rifle felt heavy, but the emptiness inside him was heavier. A small girl ran out of the smoke. Her face was black with soot. She could not see where she was going and ran straight toward the bad men. No one tried to save her. No one except the ghost. He reached her first. He picked her up with one strong arms. At first, she fought him because she was so scared. Then she felt his warm chest and heard his heartbeat. She held on tight and cried into his rough beard. The men on horses saw him. Everything became quiet. "Ghost," one of them said. He did not answer. He only looked at them with cold gray eyes. One by one, the men looked away. They were not afraid of his gun. They were afraid of a man who had nothing left to lose. A woman came out of the burning house. Her dress was torn and her hands were bleeding. It was Sarah, the widow who owned the house. When she saw her daughter safe in his arms, she stopped and stared. She knew his face from long ago, from happier days. He put the little girl down. The child ran to her mother. Sarah fell to her knees and held her daughter close. Over the girl's head, their eyes met. Words did not come, but feelings did. Thank you, fear, old memories. "You should not be here," Sarah whispered. "Neither should you," he answered. His voice was rough because he almost never used it. The men on horses watched, but they no longer felt in charge. The ghost picked up a burnt piece of wood and pushed it into the ground like a sign. It meant, "This is the line. Cross it, and you will burn." The leader of the men spat on the ground, turned his horse, and rode away. The others followed. They would come back another day, but not tonight. When the sound of horses was gone, Sarah stood up. She looked at the quiet mountain man. "Why did you help us?" she asked. He touched the scar on his forehead and spoke words he had not said in years. "Because once I was not a ghost." The wind carried his words away. Night came. The fire was out, but the smell of smoke stayed in the air. Sarah and her daughter sat among the ruins of their home. The ghost sat a little away, watching the dark, listening for danger. Sarah spoke softly. "They will come back." "Yes," he said. "They will try to kill us." "Maybe." After a long quiet, she asked, "Why did you leave the valley after your family died?" The question hurt more than a bullet. He looked at the black trees. "Until tonight, I thought there was nothing left to stay for." The little girl was almost asleep in her mother's arms, but one small hand reached out in the dark and found his big, rough hand. She held it tightly and fell asleep. Sarah's eyes were wet, but she smiled a little. "You should leave this place," he said quietly. "The valley is no longer safe." "Where can we go? A woman alone with a child has nowhere." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I have a small cabin high on the ridge. There is food and wood. It is safe." Sarah looked at him for a long time, trying to see the man behind the scary stories. The night grew colder. A wolf howled far away. Sarah stood up with the sleeping girl in her arms. She walked close to him. "Then take us there," she said. He looked into her eyes. For the first time in many years, something soft and new moved inside him. Not big hope yet, but the beginning of it. He nodded once. The ghost of the high hills turned and started walking up the mountain. The widow and her little daughter followed. Behind them, the dark valley closed like a finished story. Ahead lay the cold mountain, safety, and maybe, one day, a new beginning. The sleeping child still held his hand as they walked into the night.